Welcome to the Path to Purpose interview show, where we share our unique and universal stories about finding and fulfilling our purpose. My name is Katja, and I'm your host, story coach, and a mentor for purpose-driven entrepreneurs. My intention is to inspire you to fulfill your purpose and inspire you on your path to fulfilling it. Today, I have a pleasure to interview my friend Anne Gordon, who has been running successful whale and dolphin wisdom retreats internationally since 2007. She shares the wisdom of dolphins and whales through transformational retreats to spend time with and deepen your spiritual connection with natural world. She's a retreat success coach. So you are up here for a treat. And she loves to share her comprehensive knowledge and experience of leading successful and lucrative retreats in the last 15 years with coaches, healers, and transformational leaders. She's dedicated to empowering you to easily add 6 figures to your business by leading transformational retreats. So I am super excited to have Anne here. So let's find out more about her path. And I will ask also her best steps on leading retreats. So let's get started. So welcome, Anne. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you, Katja. It's a pleasure to be here. I always love hanging out with you. It's going to be fun.
It surely will be. And could you please tell us a little bit more about you? I just introduced you briefly, and also share where you're located now so we can put you on the map.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in the Pacific Northwest. I grew up boating and watching orca whales as a kid. So that's kind of got me started early on. And I've worked as a zookeeper. I used to take wild animals, train them out and go out to schools and do educational programs to teach a respect for wildlife. And then I trained animals, both wild and domestic, for movies and television for over 20 years.
Oh my goodness, I did not know that.
Yeah, I love that you're a story coach because I got a ton of stories. And so I worked on a film that took me to Panama and that hired a local tribe of indigenous people as the actors on the film. And they still live deep in the rainforest as they have for centuries. And I just fell in love with them as a people, just warm and open and loving and this beautiful sense of community. And as fate would have it, I married one of them.
Oh.
And so I moved to Panama to be with him. And while I was down there, I was like, okay, this is great. I love this, but there's really no film industry to speak of down there to make a living. So his village survived on tourism, having visitors come and they'd share their culture and history. So I started doing that. And I also realized that I'm in a country with 2 oceans, 50 miles or 80 kilometers apart. And I'm thinking, where are the whales and dolphins and what species do we have and how do I get out to see them? And I found out 2 really interesting things. One, that Panama is one of the only places in the world where you get humpback whales that come from both the southern hemisphere and the northern hemisphere to breed and give birth.
Wow.
So you have this amazing overlap. And nobody was doing whale watching. Nobody was offering tours. And so I literally pioneered the whale watching industry in that country, which was not easy, this blonde, blue-eyed American in this Latin American world.
For sure.
Right. But then as I was doing the whale watching day tours, it was great. I loved it. And pardon the pun, I wanted to dive deeper into connection with both the dolphins and whales, as well as my clients, and also explore the spiritual aspect and the wisdom that we could learn and apply to our own lives. Because on the day tours, it's more like the biology and the behavior, not into the spiritual realm. You don't want to freak anybody out, right? So that's when I started my whale and dolphin wisdom retreats back in 2007, as you mentioned. And I did it in Panama for a number of years. And then I thought, well, this is really fun. I'm loving this. And the season for whales there is only 3 months long. It's like, there's whales in other parts of the world and dolphins. Maybe I could lead these same retreats other places. So now I lead my retreats in Panama, in Costa Rica, in Mexico, in Hawaii, in the Bahamas, in French Polynesia, and always looking for new and exciting locations.
I know, we talked about Marbella too.
So. That's right. Marbella, the Azores, there's all kinds of amazing locations over on your side of the pond, for sure. And then as I was leading my retreats, and again, my season in Panama was 3 months long, and I realized I could lead a retreat every other week throughout that 3 months, which is about 7 weeks out of the season. And I thought, well, that's great. But when I first started, I didn't have a big enough list to fill 7 retreats with the same subject. And so I started reaching out to people like yourselves that have an audience that wanted to lead a retreat, but didn't want to deal with the logistics. And I said, look, you bring your group, I'll handle everything from the minute you land at the airport. And so I started doing that. And I realized that some of these people were really good at filling and attracting a group, and other people not so much.
Yeah.
And so that's when I started my retreat success coaching. And I also realized that obviously not everybody wants a whale and dolphin wisdom retreat. I don't understand that, but I get what? Right, what? Why wouldn't you want to hang out with dolphins and whales in some beautiful tropical location somewhere? But I get it. That's, corporate retreats and church retreats, and there's many kinds of retreats out there in the world. And I realized that what I had learned in creating my own successful and profitable retreats could be applied as a retreat success system to any flavor of retreat, whether it's an Italian cooking retreat in Tuscany, or, a corporate retreat in Colorado, or a yoga retreat in Bali. It didn't matter. So that's when I really got into the retreat success coaching, and that's been super fun as well.
Wow. And thank you for sharing your journey, because I know we have known each other for years, and I learned so much about you now. I was like, oh my goodness, I did not know that story or that story. I'm like, wow. That's
well, like I said, I got a million stories.
That is such a beautiful journey, and always saying yes, and like just seeing the opportunities, how you can also help people to connect with the wisdom of dolphins and whales, and then now also then helping them to share their work through retreats. So
yeah, I see it as, it's like I have noticed from my very first retreat, the powerful transformation and aha moments and breakthroughs that happened with my participants. But again, not everybody's going to come on my retreats.
Yeah.
So when I empower others to lead successful retreats, I see it as just spreading this ripple effect wave of transformation around the world.
Beautiful, for sure. This is a little bit out of the topic, but I need to ask this, because I know we have a lot of people who love dolphins and whales,
right?
And you tap into their wisdom. So would you share one of the messages that you have, a piece of wisdom that you have received from dolphins and whales? And then we're going to talk more about the retreats, but I just want to tap into that energy too.
Sure. Oh my gosh, where do I even start? There's so much amazing wisdom. First off, dolphins and whales have been on this planet for 30 million years. Human beings have been here for about 250,000. So they kind of look at us like we look at a toddler. A 2-year-old makes a lot of mistakes, has temper tantrums, but we don't get mad because we know they're just trying to figure life out, right? And so I think the dolphins and whales look at us the same way. It's like we human beings as a species have, we've done horrible atrocities. We are messing up the planet, and we're the toddlers on this planet, bumbling along, making a ton of mistakes. But the dolphins and whales hold this vision for us to grow and learn from our mistakes, just like we as parents and grandparents do to a toddler.
Wow.
So that's kind of where it all comes from, is that's their intent, is holding that vision for us to be, and they're much more conscious than we are. And so probably the one that popped into my mind as you were asking the question was transparency.
Yeah. It's
one of my favorite aspects that we can learn from the dolphins, because in the world of dolphins, those of you watching, you may know that dolphins have this ability for echolocation, also known as where the Navy and military learned how to create sonar, was replicating what dolphins do. And so with that echolocation, they send out a pulse of noise and it bounces off what they're directing at, and it comes back to them as an image in their brain. And what's amazing is not only does it like detect shapes like a shark or a boat or a rock, a coral reef, or a fish to eat in low or no light conditions, it can also penetrate the body. So they can see inside the bodies of a fish to know if there's a broken bone or a weakness, to make it an easier fish to catch. They can also see inside each other's bodies to see if there's anything wrong. And they can see inside our human bodies. And there's many accounts of dolphins detecting a pregnancy before the woman even knew she was pregnant. And so and they can also see, let's take that a step further. They can not only see the physical body, but they can see your emotional state. And you may think, well, how the heck can they see that? Well, because it's pretty obvious when we're upset, when we're sad, when we're angry, when we're frustrated, when we're scared, we hold our body differently than when we're happy and relaxed.
That's right.
Right? And so they see that. So in the world of dolphins and whales, there is no such thing as secrets or lies.
Because they see it.
Right? Because they see it. So just imagine. I know that's kind of scary for us humans, because we all think, well, if they really knew this about me, right, they wouldn't really like me. But imagine the freedom. If we didn't have to hide, couldn't hide anything from anybody, because we have use energy to keep that wall up from people. What if that wall didn't exist and everybody could see everybody for who they truly were, faults and all, because we all have them. It's a really powerful way to live, and it's not an easy way to live as a human, but it's something I strive for every day.
Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. And thank you for sharing. That was very fascinating. I'm glad I asked that, because I know you can talk about this topic for hours.
All day.
You have so much wisdom to share and such a beautiful connection. And one of the things, though, that you shared about us being the toddlers, and that was kind of like, and when we start being entrepreneurs, being the leaders of our tribes, yeah, we kind of are toddlers too. We are growing into it.
Yes.
Like we are growing and we are learning. And we are learning through the experiences that we do. So when you started doing retreats, because this might help others who are starting to do them, what has been one of the biggest lessons that you learned when you started organizing and bringing people to your own retreats? What was one of the biggest lessons?
I think probably the most important lesson is that, again, I mentioned that from my very first retreat, I saw how people were having these breakthroughs and aha moments without a breakdown. So on a retreat, there's no traumatic breakdown or processing or dialoguing at all. To have this beautiful, gentle release and breakthrough.
Wow.
And a lot of times I don't even know what's going on for these people until they share after they have that breakthrough and they share it with me. It's the envelope, this beautiful, safe, sacred space that you as a retreat leader create that allows them to process this in a beautiful, gentle way. And that was just, oh my gosh, I was like, how can I not do this over and over and over again? And it's fun because on my retreats, they're all about experiences. People don't come with some, in business when entrepreneurs were always talking about, talk to the pain point and what the benefits are. But mine is more about the experience. And they may come just because they've always wanted to swim with dolphins. That's been on their bucket list forever. Great. But the amazing, huge benefit is it changes their life forever.
Yeah.
Just by having this amazing experience and creating this beautiful envelope for them.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, because I love that's possible.
Yes.
And now if somebody there is watching this and like, oh my goodness, I really want to do a retreat. This is something, it's so inspiring. I'd love to bring my people to have that kind of experience. So my advice for them, of course, contact Anne, because it's so much easier to do a retreat when you have someone guiding you and supporting you on the way to put everything together. But can you give a practical first step, what they could do if they just they want to get started?
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, I realize that for a lot of people, they think a retreat might be fun, and then they're overwhelmed with all the steps,
all the details,
and all the details, right? So that's why I have created this retreat success system that step by step makes it super easy. And but the number one thing you do is you come up with your vision for the retreat. So what is the goal of that retreat? What is the big benefit or takeaway you want your people to come home with? And once you have that, then it's a whole lot easier to choose your location and your venue and the tours and activities, et cetera, et cetera. So for example, if you pick, you want to do an Italian cooking retreat, obviously you're going to go to Italy, right? Some beautiful location in Italy. But let me give you the opposite example. If you want to do an Italian cooking retreat in Costa Rica or Bali, they're amazing places to do a retreat, but you probably won't even get your ingredients there, much less the whole environment isn't aligned with your goal. Yeah. So once you have that, it's much easier to pick all of those details instead of having, oh my God, I could go in the whole world, right? But again, what if you're doing a couples intimacy retreat? Well, then you're not going to go to some all-inclusive resort like Atlantis in the Bahamas, where there's thousands of people and there's bars and disco and people are looking to hook up, because that's the opposite feel that you want. So defining your vision, goal, benefits of your retreat is the first step you do, and then everything else falls into place from there.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And now, of course, and my recommendation, contact Anne, because you can do things hard way, or you can have support on your way, which makes it easier. So up to you. But if people now want to get to know you and your work more, where they can find out more info, what's the best way to reach out to you? So can you share a little bit about that?
Sure. Probably the best way is, obviously I have a website, and I know you're going to put a link to the website in there for everybody. So check out the website. And if you're interested in coming on a whale and dolphin wisdom retreat, you'll see all of those there. And if you're interested in leading your own retreats, go to the retreat leader tab, and you will find, all the tools that I have available to book a call with me, to get acquainted, to get yourself set up to be leading profitable, successful retreats.
And you also promised a gift.
I did.
So can you share a little bit about that? And you find all the links on the comments below, so you can check the description there. But can you share what you kindly offered for our audience?
Sure. This is a create your dream retreat planning guide. So it takes you through, it's a PDF, downloadable document that you can then go through and follow step by step. It talks about the first thing, coming up with your vision, and then choosing your location and things to look for in a location that's aligned with your vision. And then a venue. Do you want to book a retreat center, a hotel, a boutique hotel, an Airbnb entire home, or maybe some eco lodge somewhere off the grid? So it takes you through all of that, and then choosing tours and activities. And then it also talks about legal concerns, contracts, your team. If you want a team, do you need a retreat coordinator or a personal assistant? And it also talks about the supplies you're going to need to bring, or your participants will need. And then it talks all about creating a budget and how to price and budget your retreat. And if you work through that entire guide, you will be able to then announce your retreat to the world and start filling it.
Oh my goodness, that is such a gift, because I was like, wow, all these things you actually need to have in place. So that is so much value. I'm just thank you for creating, first of all, and then now sharing it with us. So
Sure.
that has such a value, because then you can, when you work through that guide, it just gives you the idea of all these moving pieces that you have to have in place in order to have the successful retreat and have everything organized for it. So there is no surprises coming like, oopsie, I forgot.
Right. And I even talk about, planning extra content, because, what if the tour gets canceled or the weather goes bad, or, what to do in those situations, because, when you're traveling, stuff happens.
Yeah, have that plan B and C in your back pocket.
Yes.
Oh, that's so brilliant. And you definitely have all that experience for so many years, and organizing internationally retreats. So that's such a gift you are giving now by sharing your wisdom with others, and also doing your own retreats still. And now I'd love to ask, if, as we're wrapping up here, like, do you have a special message that you would like to share with the audience?
Yeah, I'd like to end with a story, which is appropriate for you. And that is that on one of my retreats, it was my Gifts from the Gray Whales retreat in Mexico. I had a woman come on, and she was a friend of a friend who had come before, and I didn't know her at all. And she had a good time on the retreat. She was a little reserved, a little quiet, but had a good time. And she never shared anything about her background until the final sharing circle on the last afternoon of the last day. And she told us that 7 years prior, her husband and the family dog had been killed in a horrible car accident where the car burst into flames and there was nothing they could do. And she was only 2 cars behind and saw the whole thing. I mean, I get chills every time I tell the story, because I can't imagine the horror of that. But what she shared with us is on this retreat was the first time in 7 years she felt happy again.
Wow. I got chills now. When you said
Right?
that.
So that is the power of transformation that you can bring to your clients by leading retreats.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, and for being here today and sharing your wisdom and all the work that you do in the world.
My pleasure.
And I want to thank you for watching the Path to Purpose interview show. And if you like the interview, hit the thumbs up button, and I will send you loads of light and love. Stay well and stay tuned for the next episode by subscribing to this channel. And you will find all Anne's links in the bottom of this, in the description. So check them out. And I will see you next time. Bye for now.
Bye, everybody.